Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, Jesse Lee Peterson is joined by best-selling author and the rebel columnist Katie Hopkins. In an all-encompassing interview, Jesse and Katie discussed the massive increase in political correctness in the United States as well as in the UK. Jesse asked Katie about her bold journalism, which sees her flying all over the world to get the most important stories of our day. They also discussed the spread of Islam, the importance of defending Western values, the dire situation in South Africa, and everything from Donald Trump to Piers Morgan. I don't know about you, but this promises to be interesting, so let's dive right into this one.
I have a lot of good questions for you. Number one, are you a Christian?
Yes, I describe myself as a white Christian conservative woman.
Right on.
And as such, I say that I'm kind of an endangered species where I come from.
And here, it started to happen here too.
Yeah, I think so. And I kind of feel like I'm up there with the black rhino, and he has an advantage because he's black. That's where I come from, right? Being white is a tough gig where I am.
I know all about that. Do you believe that human beings are in a fallen state?
I think two sides to that. Firstly, I think where I live, my country, the United Kingdom is a fallen state. In its truest definition. It breaks my heart that my country has fallen so far. And I'm not somebody that is just out to criticize their country as people burn flags or whatever. I signed up to be part of the British military. I went through Sandhurst, which is like your West Point, but better. I had a 35-year degree, a regular commission with the Armed Forces in the Intelligence Corps. So I love my country to the point I wanted to fight for my country, and to watch my country become this sad kind of failure and a failed experiment for multiculturalism and a complete takeover by Islam is heartbreaking, and it's the reason I come to America to say, do not fall as we have fallen.
When did it start to fall? How and why?
I think this idea of multiculturalism, it was a great notion, and it was based on something fantastic. When we had our first generation migrants that came to the UK from India, from all different countries across the world, they came because they wanted to be part of something, to work hard, to create a better environment for their families. They're amazing people, these 60 and 70-year-olds that have created and raised their families as part of being British. They are truly ambassadors for Britain and ambassadors for migrants everywhere. I love them dearly. But then we had mandatory multiculturalism, where we continued to have open borders, mass migration, and we created a system that, instead of asking people or welcoming people who wanted to integrate, we continued to welcome vast numbers of people who did not want to be part of our culture, who did not want anything, in fact, actively disagree with Western culture and Western values and want to live in isolation from us. And that's where it all went wrong. And I think Angela Merkel most recently opening up Europe and saying, wir schaffen das, we can do this, and telling everyone to come. Our country has been completely overrun, and the Islamic community is now so strong and so numerous and growing so quickly. In 20 years, I'm a minority in my own country.
Amazing.
And they want nothing to do with us. And so instead of multiculturalism, that's just it's an illusion, it's a notion, and it's not true. We live in ghettos of separate cultures, many of whom actively hate each other. And that's the truth as I perceive it in the UK today.
That's happening here too. The first immigrants or migrants who enter into the UK, did they come legally or illegally?
Yes, no, they came legally. They worked incredibly hard to come here, and they were the sort of the bastions. They were almost held up, still are actually held up, as those individuals who would work harder than British people, who would work the longest hours, whose children worked the hardest in school, outperforming our children because they were just so grateful to have the opportunity. They were amazing ambassadors. And what's been so upsetting, I spend quite a bit of time with these older generation migrants, is they're so disappointed by the recent arrivals because it's giving everybody a bad name, and it's really diminishing the UK, and we now have a situation really where, we just had a ruling from Europe that the rights of Muslim communities not to be offended is greater than the rights of someone like myself to speak freely.
The sad thing here that Katie pointed out is that things are so dire in London. We're talking about London, England is now under Muslim control. And you guys remember the situation where, Mayor Sadiq Khan got enough votes from the migrant population that it even overcame the resident Brits. London Bridge is falling down, and I mean this literally. It's surreal. England survived the devastation of the Nazis in the 40s. It was a great loss as the country was bombed into rubble. The British people never gave up and rallied to stay strong against an almost impossible enemy. They ended up surviving and victorious. We thought that was over. Now, they are being conquered by their own fascist globalist government. It's hard to watch. It is especially hard to watch because I lost both of my uncles at 19 and 20 flying in Lancaster bombers to defeat the threat that the UK was facing. If there is one thing I really want to say is, don't let those sacrifices go to waste.
That's amazing.
This is the start of kind of de facto Sharia blasphemy laws in the UK.
Why do the white men of the UK, along with the white Christian women, sit back and just allow this to happen? Why don't they not fight back with truth and vote in people who can do something about this, or who will do something about it?
And I think it's partly because, and I understand, I'm a mum of 3 children, I have a husband. It always surprises people to find out I'm actually married, that someone's tolerating me.
I never knew you were married.
Well, exactly, it's a surprise.
That's amazing.
I know most
How did
people
that
think
happen?
I'm a lesbian because I have short hair. There's this idea, if you have short hair, you're definitely a lesbian. So I was at a hairdresser's the other day, actually, and the hairdresser thought I was a Democrat because I have short hair and therefore I'm a lesbian, which is like a weird assumption. So I have a husband, I have children, I just have short hair, and those are 2 different things.
Right.
Yeah, but anyhow, not to get off the point, is that as a mum, I understand for many families, they would probably love to speak out. I get emails all the time from people who say, keep going, you say the stuff I'm desperate to say, you say the stuff, keep going, because they can't. Because if you even say your opinion in the UK, you lose your job. I mean, you know how it is here.
It's happening here.
There's so many secret conservatives here that stop me in the street to say keep going, because we can't say it because we'll lose our jobs.
But that's a horrible mistake.
I know.
Though, because what happened, as it happened here with white Americans, they were afraid to speak out against liberal blacks and those who were calling them racist. And so years and years have gone by, and the white children, even today, are now suffering because the parents didn't speak up. And these white kids in the universities, if they spoke up, they were called racist, they were kicked out of school. Had the parents spoken up years ago, the kids would not be suffering it today.
I absolutely agree with you, and there is a frustration in me. Sometimes, often, people will say, I don't agree with everything you say, but I really like you, I really like what you do. And I feel cross with those people a little, even though they're being supportive, because I want to say, I never asked you to agree with everything I said.
That's right.
Do not start the sentence with, I don't agree with everything you say, but, because I never asked you to agree with everything I said.
Point.
I am happy, you and I would be happy, if we disagreed on everything, but we can still sit here like regular adults and chat. So I think people have to take some level of ownership about not trying to excuse themselves before they even dare to have an opinion.
That's right.
People have to kind of man up a little bit.
Absolutely. What do you think of men, and in this particular case, white men who are afraid to speak up, who allow their families to be having to live in fear because the fathers didn't speak up? What do you think of white men who don't speak up?
It is a real problem, and we've seen, white men. I know there's a good number of strong white males out there, even in the UK as well. I know they're out there and they want to fight back, and there's even talks of, in the UK, because things are so dire, this kind of the start of the militias, this sort of start of semi-organised groups of individuals who are talking about creating a kind of police network where they're going to start walking the streets of London, because London is now such a high crime place and our police are doing nothing about it. So I know we have strong men out there, but I think we have lost this ability to accept being called a name and saying, that's okay, I know I'm not that person.
Right.
to be called, I'm called Islamophobe. If we looked at, I don't know, some people look at Wikipedia, which is a terrible idea, but like I'm an Islamophobe, I'm a racist, I'm a misogynist, I'm a a supremacist, all of those things. And you have to say, okay, I'll accept those labels from you, but I continue, and I know who I am. And as long as I know who I am, it doesn't matter the labels you throw on me. But I think it comes down to, this idea, and I think our schools do it too. Everybody wants to be liked. And I never know where we got that from. Yeah. Where do we get that notion from that being liked is more important than having principles that you'll stand by? And sometimes you have to not be liked to make unpopular decisions, but that are the right decisions. I
think that starts in the home when the parents treat one child better than the other instead of treating them equally. And so the child that is not getting the same treatment tends to try to prove themselves to the parent that, you know what, I can do it too, I'm as good as my brother or sister. They're trying to be liked by that parent, and if it doesn't work, as they become adults, they go out into the world trying to appease people so that they can be liked.
I think so, and I also think it used to be that I want to be liked, or I want to receive validation, And so it used to be, and I still feel this way, you do that by doing hard things. So you do that by doing the marathon, or you do that by, passing out of the academy, or you do it by having, as I have had, both your arms dislocated, but you still get to where you need to get to. You do it by doing the hard thing. What I notice with the latest generation so often is they don't look for validation by doing the hard thing. They look for validation by trying to be the biggest victim.
Yes.
And whether that's because I've now decided today I'm a man and so I am now one of the trans movement, or I am going to be a victim because of my sexuality or my colour or my eating preferences, I'm a vegan, I'm a lactose intolerant. All of these bizarre ways of deciding that you could get validation because anything that makes me special because I've got bigger needs, greater needs than you. And that's the opposite of what we need to teach our kids.
That's right.
Do stuff by being tougher than, better than.
I have been called the N-word, Uncle Tom, sellout. I even had the Coon Award given to me. But because I don't have that fear, I love what's right with all my heart, soul, and might. I know that it's not about color, it's not about male or female, it's good versus evil, right versus wrong. I don't have that fear, so I love my country. I stand up for my country. And
I bet people love you. I bet you get support on the street when you walk around.
All over the world, really. Absolutely.
Because it's critical. Well, it's something I've noticed after the midterms is I keep reading or seeing the first female blah blah blah, the first black blah blah blah, the first Muslim blah blah blah, and I just think, what the hell has that got to do with the job you need to go and do in Congress or the House or Senate? Who you are in terms of your colour or your sexuality makes no difference.
That's right.
Do not report me on the basis of some identification matter. Tell me what you're going to do. Tell me what your policies are.
Amazing.
Don't tell me what sex you are.
I have a good example of that. We just had an election here, as you know.
Yeah, of course.
And two Muslim women won Congress as in their district. I don't know where they're from.
I saw them waving the flag of Palestine.
Yeah.
So I'll just get the T-shirt out.
And then they gave a speech, and in the speech, one of them said, I haven't heard the second person yet, but she said, "Oh, I never imagined a person like me could ever become."
Yeah, I had that.
And then I'm saying this woman should not be representing the United States. She should not be in Congress.
Not a chance.
With that kind of attitude.
It terrifies me. She was waving the Palestinian flag, and she said, to your point, she said, as a proud Palestinian.
Yes.
And then American, and then it was all about me. I was like, this is the craziness.
It sure
and for
is.
me, it breaks my heart because I see it starting. I've spent a lot of time campaigning in Minnesota, in Michigan, because I see where this starts. My country has played this out already, because once you have Islam in power, political Islam in power, people voting according to their religion, not according to policy, power, money, centralized behind that religion, a densely packed population who all have the same faith, which is Islam. It is a terrifying thing, and you cannot break back in. It is lost now. Michigan, to me, all of those states, Minnesota, you know, they are lost, and they are rapidly coming behind us in the UK in the fall. And it's trying to stop the fall of America.
Amazing.
And that's where, to me, the rot sets in. And we have it, if we're looking for an example, to contrast in London with our Muslim mayor, who is now secure, despite a terrible track record, is secure because the population of London is majority Muslim.
A lot was definitely said and discussed. Now, great point at the end by Katie. And this is what happened in the USA with its loyalty to Christianity and disregard for others that don't follow the same beliefs. Now, so we find ourselves, you know, in a completely tribal situation of different religions pitting themselves against one another while claiming to have freedom of religion. Not forgetting that a quarter of the society is secular and has no belief in either of these gods, and that's their right as well. Where the problem lays is in the infiltration of government and the justice system, who mandate laws that do not fit into the morality of society as a whole. People aren't even honest about what they do or do not believe in order to, you know, protect themselves, as both Christians and Muslims will discriminate based on their own beliefs. So many pretend or adapt and go along to keep their jobs. Now, highlight here is stating how we are welcoming individuals who do not want to be part of our culture, and therefore are expecting change to tailor for their beliefs, and want isolation and causing uproar and argument when they feel that they're not getting what they want. Now, instead of respecting the existing culture and beliefs of the area you're entering, and, you know, not wanting to contribute to society or associate with others who are not, you know, the same as oneself. Now, I for one believe in a multicultural society for many reasons. However, we need to put aside our own biases and learn to get along and put in the same effort to fulfilling society needs as a whole, and show positive collaboration and putting in equal work to ensure the country is running smoothly and safely. We just need to accept that people think differently and that they shouldn't be a barrier to effective communication and inclusion. This was an amazing interview by Jesse Lee, and he was an amazing host. And shout out to our guest, Katie Hopkins. You say it as it is. I appreciate you for that. I respect you for that. This is definitely a big one. What do you guys think about the video? Let me know in the comment section, and I will see you right there. Do have an amazing day.